Hi, I'm Antonia. This is Universally Me. Wow, I had no idea when I asked people to submit questions for a Q&A that you guys would have so many Q's to be A'd. But I'm really excited by all the questions. I think I was a little nervous that nobody would end up asking anything and I'd look like a fool, but I'm really excited to do this. So thank you to everybody who wrote in. So without further ado, here we go. Cinephile XO wants to know, where did Carl grow up? What were his parents' names, and did he have any siblings? Carl grew up in Laupheim, Germany, and then moved to Ichenhausen when he was still young. His parents were Julius and Rebecca, and he had a whole bunch of siblings. The three siblings that he had that actually made it to adulthood are Louis, Joseph, and Siegfried. Cinephile XO also wants to know who my favorite Universal star is. Does my Aunt Carla count? Tahiti Slim 25 has two questions. The first, how cool is Carl Laemmle? Obviously I'm biased, but I really do think that Carl is kind of the coolest. He was an amazing businessman, was a feminist, hiring female directors and women in positions of power, which is pretty rare even to see today. He won a Supreme Court case against Thomas Edison. He saved hundreds of lives during World War II. He was a pretty great poker player. I just don't know what else he'd have to do to get much cooler. His second question is, how do you feel about spending a weekend in Montana? I went to Big Sky once and went skiing and adventuring around, and I thought it was incredibly beautiful, and that's all I'll say about that. Kirk DNA wants to know, what two items would I get in a McDonald's twofer? I only actually get one thing ever from McDonald's, and that's a kid's meal. If I'm a normal amount of hungry, I'll do the 4-piece McNuggets. If I'm starving, I'll get a cheeseburger. Commander Anders, who I know who actually works at Universal, asks me, what are 3 Universal movies that everyone should see? I'm almost scared to answer this question, but I just want to say that these are just 3 that I think everyone should see. There are so many more, and if you ask me a month from now or a year from now, I'll probably tell you 3 totally different movies. But today, my answer is Frankenstein, Imitation of Life, and E.T. Blue Knight 94 asks, what is my favorite Universal landmark and why? If you would have asked me 2 years ago, I would have said the Phantom Stage, stage 28, but that's not there anymore. I feel like over the years, so many sets and whatnot have just burned down, been torn down. It's a hard question for me to answer. I really liked the 1313 Mockingbird Lane House when it was there a few years ago because The Munsters is one of my favorite shows growing up. I kind of just like being anywhere that feels old because I can kind of pretend that maybe it's something like what my family saw when they were there. Gavin Cozart wants to know, am I attending Halloween Horror Nights this year? Yes, I go every year. I love it. The last few years I've gone with the same group of friends and we always have the greatest time, so I'm sure I'll just do that again. Yummy Cher, who is one of my best friends, wants to know if I'll take her to the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. So I know she's joking, but I will say that I had so many people come out of the woodwork asking for me to take them to Wizarding World, get them passes before it even opened, people I hadn't spoken to in years. And I hate to disappoint, but I just want to say that I'm not that special. I don't actually get cool things like unlimited tickets or anything like that, so sorry. Cheryl's other question is related to The Bachelorette, which we watch every Monday together at my place. She wants to know if I think JoJo is going to end up choosing a bad boy. Well, I've actually thought about this rather extensively. Basically, if you look at JoJo's dating history, she had her ex-dad who it seems like treated her pretty terribly, then she broke up with him one last season, then was super nice, but also JoJo's second to learn beat, so she's still kind of chasing after somebody who wasn't treating her as well as he should have been. Now this season, Chad, what I think is going to happen is it's going to come down to a super nice guy, Jordan Rogers, and I was a little less nice than that guy, not quite as jerky as Jordan Rogers. I just love what I said because he's nice and boring. Then it's going to come down to Jordan Rogers and whether or not he like chase her, something like that. Maybe it's Jason or Jason Jordan. Either way, she'll have a super nice guy there. She's making the right choice, she's enjoying it. He's definitely a bad boy, but she's still kind of getting a bad boy in the chance, which is not really nice. She's still sort of choosing passion over stability, but I guess we're gonna have to see how it plays out. B Hall 789 wants to know, what does the brand Universal mean to you, especially in terms of the films? So, obviously Universal is way different now than when it first started. At the beginning, I think Universal was definitely about pushing boundaries and creating a little controversy, and it wasn't afraid to stir up a little trouble to get people talking. He wasn't just churning out any old film all the time. He really had his finger on the pulse of what people wanted, but also kind of what they needed. B-Hall789 also asked for a few of my Universal favorites. In addition to the ones that I named earlier, let's add My Man Godfrey, Dracula. More recently, I really liked Inglourious Basterds and Drag Me to Hell. Drew with Dreams wants to know, which Universal monster do you relate to most and why? Wow, I've thought about it before, but I'm always kind of going back and forth. But I think ultimately I settled on Frankenstein, partly because, I don't know, I feel misunderstood a lot. I don't know, I just want friends. Atari Warlord asks if I play any video games, and I'm sure this isn't the answer that you're looking for, but I do still have my Super Nintendo, and I love playing Mario Kart and Super Mario World, and of course I downloaded Pokemon Go. From Nerd Culture, what are the most underrated or underappreciated parts of Universal Studios? That's easy. The history, Carl Laemmle, his story. We're just so willing to ignore that for whatever the new, cool, trendy thing is. It's not to say that I think Harry Potter World is a trend, or, you know, The Simpsons is a trend. I'm not saying that, and I don't want people to get mad at me about that, but I do think that Universal's very quick to let's just in with the new, out with the old. And it's a thing that I think Disney does really well, where they are constantly rolling out new rides and new features and new characters, but they're always honoring the history as well, Walt and Mickey and the other characters, and that's such a big part of what makes it so special for the people who go again and again. They get to see these new exciting things, but they also get to connect to these special people and places that they've known their whole life. Callie Daydreaming wants to know, if I had to be trapped on a deserted island with 3 people, who would I choose? So first person, I would choose Boris Karloff, and it was hard choosing between him and Lon Chaney, but I choose Boris because I hear he's one of the nicest people ever. I'm sure he would just be full of so many stories, and it would be really interesting at least to be trapped with him. 2, I would choose Lucille Ball because she's brilliant and amazing. And if she couldn't help scheme a way off the island, I think that she would at least be hilarious to be on the island with. And the third, my great-grandfather, Edward Laemmle, because he really did go on expeditions all over the world in the 20s, and he went and filmed in unexplored, isolated locations. He was almost eaten by cannibals once, but he survived everything and lived to tell the tale, and I think I'd feel pretty safe with him around. Team Chavo wants to know, what movies impact you the most? Different movies obviously impact me in different ways for different reasons, but I definitely love movies that keep me thinking after the fact. How do I feel about this, or what would I have done? I'm also always a sucker for a good twist. I watched this horror film recently called Would You Rather that just had this crazy sad ending. That was really great. Requiem for a Dream. My friends and I used to always debate, if you had to be one of the characters in one of the storylines, who would you choose? I love The Others, Dogtooth, Orphan, Funny Games, Silence of the Lambs, Girl Interrupted. The Truman Show legitimately gave me a paranoia that I am just the subject of some reality show I've never known. So there's that also. That somebody wants to know what some of my favorite places in the city are. I love seeing movies in the Hollywood Forever Cemetery. I love the Virginia Robinson Gardens, which are just beautiful. The Magic Castle, so much fun. Seeing movies at the Old Town Music Hall in El Segundo. I really love just hanging out in places with history. So the Beverly Hills Hotel, that's where my grandparents got married. The Chateau Marmont, Kohl's, No Vacancy, BK Cannon, who you should all watch on Switched at Birth and in anything else she does because she's awesome. Do you know why Carl Laemmle chose the movie business as opposed to another industry? Carl actually was in a bunch of industries before he ended up in movies. He clothing and garments to farming, but he was almost 40. He either quit or was let go from his job. We don't quite know. He had a wife and he had kids, and he was really just figuring out, like, how am I going to provide for them? And it was around that time that he saw his first Nickelodeon, just got in at the right time. BK also wants to know what some of my favorite Universal movies are. I will add to the list Bride of Frankenstein, The Mummy, Thoroughly Modern Millie. I also love Bridesmaids and Sisters, and I think all of those are Universal movies. Lastly, my roommate Jill, who clearly doesn't read my Instagram captions, wants to know, why is everyone asking so many questions? Thank you to everyone who wrote in questions, and if you have any more, feel free to post them below. I'll keep answering. Let me know your thoughts on my answers, and don't forget to follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Antonia Carlotta. Subscribe by clicking the subscribe button, and thanks for watching.